The drift lanes near the Blue Star were usually calm. Freight ships moved in slow lines, their lights like small beads on a dark string. The Kethri watched those lanes from their listening tower. A thin station made of silver plates and quiet rooms. They were not a war people. They traded, mapped, repaired, and moved on. Keeper Sava held the night watch. He was older now, his head scales dull with age, his eyes sharp from years of scanning empty space. Most nights, nothing happened. The tower would hum, the screens would glow, and the lane would stay clean. Tonight, the lane trembled. A thin warning tone rose from the main board. Sava leaned closer. The sound was not loud, but it carried a strange weight, like a bad memory. Signal spike, the system said in plain trade speech. Sava tapped the screen. A scatter of marks appeared. Too many. Too fast. Not cargo. Not normal travel. His second watcher, a young Kethri named Rel, stepped in from the side room with a cup of heat water. Another storm. Sava did not answer. At once, he zoomed the view, ran a pattern check, and felt his throat tighten. No storm. He said, ships. Rel set the cup down. How many? Sava counted the marks again. More than a patrol. Less than a fleet. Rel's voice dropped. Raiders? The Kethri had heard of raiders. Of course, everyone had. The Var were known in this region: fast ships, sharp deals, sudden strikes. They did not fight fair. They did not warn. They did not talk unless it helped them. Sava's hands moved across the controls, sending a quiet alert to nearby stations. The Kethri code was simple: danger in lane, stay back, keep silent. Rel watched the screen and swallowed. They are coming close. Sava stared at the lane. They are not passing through. They are turning. A new mark appeared. This one was slow and weak. It was a small cargo ship Kethri. By its shape and heat trace coming in from the outer lane, it had not seen the raiders yet. Sava hit the broadcast key. Cargo vessel turn 9. Change course. Change course now. Raiders in the lane. Only static answered. He tried again. Turn 9. Respond. Still nothing. Rel pointed. Its comrade is damaged. Look. Sava saw it. The ship's front plate was cracked. A deep scrape ran along its side. It was limping. Blind and half deaf, drifting toward danger. Sava's chest tightened with fear and anger. The Kethri did not like to fight, but they did not like to watch others die either. Send a drone, Sava ordered. Rel nodded and launched a small beacon drone toward turn 9. It was not a weapon, just a light, a guide, a voice, a tool for peace. But peace was slow, and the raiders were fast. The Var ship split into 2 groups. One group stayed wide, cutting off escape. The other rushed in toward the cargo ship like knives. Sava's screen filled with hard, bright lines. Shield flare. Rel whispered. Turn 9 tried to turn. Its engines coughed. Its shields lit for a second, then flickered. Sava opened an emergency channel to the nearest Kethri trade hub. This is Listening Tower 9. Raiders in the lane. We need help. We need any help. A voice answered, shaky and quick. We have no war ships. We can send warnings. We can hide. Sava clenched his jaw. That was the truth. The Kethri were not built for war. They had small defense craft, small lasers meant for rocks and debris, not for raiders. Rel looked at Sava. What do we do? Sava's mind flashed back, not to a battle, but to a storm years ago. A broken human ship had once drifted into Kethri space. It was burning, barely holding together. The Kethri could have ignored it. Humans were far away then, a rumor at the edge of charts. Helping them could have brought trouble. But the Kethri had helped anyway. They had pulled a single human out of the wreck. He was young, covered in ash, shaking with pain and fear. His name had been hard to say in Kethri speech, so they called him one. He had stared at them with wide eyes, expecting harm. Instead, they had given him water, food, and a safe room. They had repaired a small pod and sent him home with charts, because leaving him lost felt wrong. Before he left, the human had touched his own chest and then raised his hand, palm open. A simple sign that he had spoken in rough trade speech. Slow but clear. I will remember, he had said. Sava had not thought much of it then. Humans were far. Promises across space were thin things. Now, as raiders closed on turn 9, Sava felt that old memory stir like a spark. He opened a long-range channel, one that Kethri rarely used. It reached beyond local hubs, beyond friendly markets, out toward the border lines where bigger powers listened. The channel asked for a code. Sava hesitated only once, then entered. The old rescue record, the one tied to the human survivor. Rel frowned. What is that? A debt, Sava said softly, or a hope. He sent the message in the plainest words he could find. Kethri station in danger. Raiders attacking cargo ship. Request aid. We once rescued a human survivor. If any Terran signal hears this, please answer. The message flew into the dark. On the screen, the first raider fired. A thin red beam hit Turn 9's side. Metal glowed. The cargo ship spun, slow and helpless. Small lifeboats began to pop free, like seeds in a harsh wind. Rel made a sound of pain. They are taking it apart. Sava forced himself to keep working. He launched more beacons, more warnings. He triggered the station's weak defense. Lights, not to win, only to distract. The raiders did not even look at the tower. Then a new mark appeared on the far edge of the scan. It was huge. At first, Sava thought it was a moon fragment. The heat trace was too clean, the movement too smooth. The system tried to label it and failed. Rel leaned close, eyes wide. That is not VAR. The mark grew. It moved faster than any cargo ship, faster than any Kethri craft. A deep signal rolled through the channel, so strong it made the tower lights flicker. The language was old. Trade mixed with a harder code. Sava's translator caught it and spoke one line. Terran Navy signal received. Rel froze. Terrans. Sava's heart hammered. They heard. Space in front of the raiders brightened, as if the dark itself cracked open. A massive Terran ship dropped from fold space. Its hull long and heavy, shaped like a moving fortress. Blue lights ran along its sides. A single main cannon stretched forward like a giant arm. The VAR ship scattered at once, breaking formation, but the Terran ship did not chase. It simply turned its cannon toward the nearest raider. A calm voice came over the channel, cold and steady. This lane is under Terran protection. Stand down. The raiders did not answer. They fired. Their beams struck the Terran shields and vanished like rain on stone. The Terran cannon charged. A deep glow built at its tip, bright enough to paint the nearby rocks in pale light. Sava held his breath. The Terran gun fired. The shot crossed space in a clean line, and for a moment, every signal on the board went flat. The raider ship did not explode in flame. It did not scream. It simply stopped, lights out, engines dead, weapons silent like a creature that forgot how to move. Silence spread through the lane. Rel whispered, almost afraid to speak. What did they do? Sava stared at the dark, at the quiet wreck, and at the Terran ship hovering like a judge. He remembered the human's words from years ago. I will remember. And now, in the sudden stillness after a Terran shot, Sava understood that the human had not meant kindness alone. He had meant power. The Terran warship held position like a mountain in space. Its blue lights did not blink in panic. They pulsed in a steady pattern, calm and controlled. Around it, small stones and broken ice drifted through the lane. Still, spinning from the shock of the shot, Keeper Sava stayed at his board, fingers tight on the rail. He felt as if the air inside the tower had changed. The same metal walls, the same screens, yet everything felt smaller now. Even his own breathing sounded loud. Rel stared at the main scan. That raider, it is not burning. Sava nodded slowly. It is silent. The VAR had brought weapons, meant to rip whole plates and scare crews into surrender. They expected fire and screams. But the Terran shot left no fire, no sound, no signal. A living ship had become a dead object in one clean moment. The other VAR ships did not rush in to help. They spread out like frightened insects to try to flee to the outer lane. One moved behind a rock cluster, as if hiding from the Terran's eyes could make it safe. The Terran ship did not move fast. It did not need to. A calm voice returned on open channel. VAR Raider Group, you have 10 seconds to disarm and transmit surrender codes. The translator made the words flat, but Sava heard something under it. Not anger, not pride, just certainty. Rel whispered, they are giving them a chance. Sava did not answer. He was thinking about how rare that was. Many powers did not give chances. They punished first, asked later. The Terrans were offering a door, but it did not feel like mercy. It felt like a final warning before a heavy door closed forever. The VAR leader finally replied. The voice was sharp, proud, and shaking. This lane is not yours, Terran. We are reclaiming trade debt. The Terran voice did not change. Negative. This lane is under protection due to prior civilian assistance rendered to Terran personnel. Sava's throat went dry. Rel's eyes widened. They mean us. Sava felt the weight of it. The simple rescue, the food, the water, the safe room, the repaired pod, a small act, done because it felt right. It had traveled across years and stars and returned as a shield made of steel. The VAR leader hissed through his calm. "We will not battle a single ship," the Terran replied. "Then you will be quiet." The main cannon charged again. The glow built at the tip like a second dawn. The VAR ships fired together. Desperate beams and scattered missiles. They hit the Terran shields and broke apart. The shields did not even flare hard. It was like watching children throw stones at a cliff. Sava saw one VAR ship make a sudden move. It turned away from the Terran ship and aimed at the weak target. At turn 9, "They're going for the cargo ship," Rel shouted. The VAR ship cut across space. Not to win, but to hurt. To grab something before dying. To take hostages. That was the VAR way. Sava slammed the station's defense controls. The tower's small lasers woke up and fired thin lines of light. They were not strong enough to break radar armor, but they can annoy sensors, maybe slow aim. The VAR ship did not stop. Its weapon ports open, ready to carve. Then the Terran ship finally moved, not like a racer, like a giant hand turning. It shifted its angle, and the cannon followed the VAR ship's path. The Terran voice said, "Do not touch the civilians." The VAR ship fired anyway. The Terran gun fired. The second shot did not just kill the raider, it did something worse. Space around the VAR ship seemed to fold inward for a breath. The ship's lights blinked once, then went out. Its missiles vanished from scan. Its signals died. Its engine roar, if anyone could have heard it, became nothing. It drifted. No explosion, no fire, just silence. Rel's mouth was open. He could not speak. Sava forced himself to work. Mark the lifeboats from turn 9. Track them. Prepare rescue drones. Yes, Keeper, Rel said, voice thin. The third VAR ship tried to flee. It burned hard toward the outer lane, pushing engines beyond safe levels. The fourth ship followed, staying close behind it. Sava thought the Terrans might let them go. The Kethri might have. The Kethri would be glad just to survive. But the Terran ship did not let them go. A new sound came over the channel. Not a voice. A short tone, like a bell made of metal. The Terran ship released something small and fast. 3 narrow craft, like darts, launching from its side bays. Interceptors. They crossed the lane in seconds. The first reached the fleeing VAR ship and fired a tight beam at its engine. The raider did not explode. Its engine simply shut off, as if a hand turned a switch. The ship spun, powerless. The second interceptor reached the next raider and did the same. The third interceptor did not fire. It moved between the disabled ships and the outer lane, blocking them like a guard. Sava watched, stunned. They want prisoners. Rel swallowed. Why? Sava did not know, but he remembered the human's eyes from years ago. Wide, alert, a survivor's eyes. A human who had learned that being kind did not mean being weak. The Terran voice returned. VAR ships are disabled. Boarding teams inbound. Now the Terran warship finally spoke directly to the Kethri Tower. Listening Tower 9. This is Terran vessel TNS Resolute. Identify your casualties and status. Sava took a breath and touched the channel. His voice came out steady, though his hands shook. This is Keeper Sava. We have no direct hits on the tower. The cargo ship turn 9 is damaged and breaking. Lifeboats are active. We request rescue support. Copy, the Terran said. Rescue craft launching now. From the Terran ship's underside, several smaller craft detached, bright with blue lights. They moved toward the lifeboats. The lifeboats were tiny compared to them, like seeds compared to birds. Rel stared at the feed. They are so fast. Sava focused on details. They are trained. He watched the Terran rescue craft approach a lifeboat. A beam of light scanned it. Then the craft matched speed and locked on gently, pulling it in with controlled force. No sudden jerks, no fear, just skill. In the midst of this, a message blinked on Sava's side screen. It was marked priority. The signal came from Terran command code, but it was addressed to the Kethri by name. Sava opened it. A simple audio file played, a human voice, older now, deeper than the memory, but familiar in shape. This is Captain Yelen Mercer of the Terran Navy. The voice paused, as if choosing words carefully. Years ago, in the storm lanes of Kethri space, A station crew saved my life. You called me one because my name was hard to say. I did not forget. I promise I would remember. Sava felt his eyes sting. Kethri did not cry the way humans did, but their throats tightened, their vision blurred. The voice continued, calm but strong. My ship is here because you mattered. Because what you did mattered. I am returning the kindness, and I am ending this threat. Rel looked at Sava. Keeper. He came back. Sava swallowed. Yes, outside. The Terran boarding teams moved toward the disabled Var ships. Sava could see their approach on scan. The Terran warship stayed steady, the cannon still pointed. At the raiders like an unblinking eye, one Var ship tried something desperate. A hidden compartment opened, and a small probe launched, racing toward the tower. Rel shouted, "Incoming object!" Sava's fingers flew. Defense grid, the tower's lasers fired, but the probe was too small, too quick. It slipped through the light lines and kept coming. Sava's heart kicked hard. If it hit, it could carry a virus, a bomb, a track or anything. Before it could reach them, one of the Terran interceptors turned and snapped a beam across its path. The probe died in mid-flight. It did not explode. It simply shut down and spun away. Harmless. The Terran voice came again. Colder now. That was your last mistake. The Terran ship fired a smaller weapon, quick, precise. It struck the Var ship that launched the probe. Its power went out. Its signal vanished into the same dead quiet. Now all Var ships were silent. The lane, once filled with threats, was suddenly calm. To calm, Sava realized something then. The Terran weapons were not normal. They did not destroy. They erased function. They took away the ability to fight, to run, to call for help. They made silence. Rel said softly, "They are not just winning. They are teaching." Sava watched as Terran rescue craft gathered the last lifeboat from Turn 9. The cargo ship itself was now a broken skeleton, drifting in pieces. The Terran voice spoke to Sava again, gentler than before. "Keeper Sava, we will send medical aid and engineers to your station. After that, we need to discuss what happened here. The Var did not come by accident." Sava's stomach tightened. "You think this is bigger?" "Yes," the Terran said. "We believe the Var were hired, and we believe someone wants to test how Terrans respond to old debts." Sava looked at the silent Raider Rex and the massive warship hovering like a promise kept. He understood the message, clear as the blue. Lights. The Terrans remembered kindness, and anyone who tried to punish the kind would learn what silence meant. The rescue craft moved like careful hands. They pulled Kethri lifeboats out of spin, sealed cracks with quick foam, and guided survivors into warm cabins. Inside Listening Tower 9, the air was full of quiet sounds, now soft alarms, medical, scanners, and the low hum of new Terran power units being connected to the tower's weak grid. Keeper Sava stood near the main hatch, watching Terran engineers work. They wore plain suits with dark visors and simple tools. They did not act like heroes. They acted like people who had done this many times. Rel stayed close to Sava, his eyes following every Terran step. "They bring their own power," he whispered. "They bring their own air filters. They plan, like they will stay." Sava nodded. "Or like they expect trouble to return." A Terran officer entered the tower. He was tall, with short dark hair and a calm face. His uniform carried small marks on the chest, but no heavy shine. He looked around once, then walked straight to Sava. "Keeper Sava," he said in trade speech. Sava lifted his chin. "Yes." The officer touched his fingers to his brow, then lowered his hand. "Captain Yelen Mercer, thank you for answering our hail." Rel made a small sound. Sava did not move, but his mind flashed back to a young human wrapped in ash, eyes wide, breathing hard. This face was older, harder, yet the same kind of focus lived in the eyes. "You were the one," Sava said. Mercer's mouth tightened into something close to a smile. "I was." For a moment, the tower felt very still. Two different species stood together, held by a choice made long ago. Sava spoke carefully. "We did not call you for a debt. We called because civilians were in danger." Mercer nodded once. "And you were right to call. That is not a chain. It is a reminder of who we are." Rel looked between them. "Captain." The Raiders' ships became silent. "How?" Mercer glanced toward the main screen, where dead Var ships drifted like dark shells. "Our weapons. Target systems, not flesh. They shut down power, sensors, weapons, and comms. A ship could be alive inside, but blind and helpless." Sava's throat tightened again. "So you did not kill them. We disabled them, Mercer said. Boarding teams recovered survivors. We have prisoners. The word prisoners fell. Like a stone. Sava asked, will you take them away? Mercer's voice stayed calm. Yes. But first we will ask questions. The VAR did not pick this lane by chance. Sava led Mercer to the main board. Rel followed, carrying a data slate. The tower screen showed the whole area now, including Terran rescue craft moving between lifeboats, and Terran interceptors holding position near the disabled raiders. Mercer looked at the data lines. Your station's logs are clean. You reacted fast. Sava did not accept praise. We were lucky you heard. Mercer's eyes narrowed a little. We were listening. Sava tilted his head. Listening for what? Mercer did not answer at once. He looked to one of his officers, who stepped forward and placed a small device on the table. A holo map rose above it, showing the local drift lanes. Several points blinked in red. These are recent raids, Mercer said. Same style, same timing. Small groups, testing responses, watching who answers. Rel swallowed. Who would do that? Mercer's voice lowered. Someone who wants to measure Terran reach. Someone who wants to know if we protect our friends, even far away. Sava stared at the red points. So this was about you, not about us. It was about both, Mercer said. They used you as bait. They assumed we would not come, or they hoped we would come angry and careless. Sava's fingers tightened on the rail. They wanted you to make a mistake. Mercer nodded once. Yes. A sharp beep came from the comm panel. A Terran Marine appeared on screen. Helmet on. Voice steady. Captain, boarding complete on VAR Ship 3. Prisoner secured. One prisoner requests to speak only to the Terran who was rescued by lizards. His words, not mine. Rel's eyes flashed with surprise. Sava felt a cold ripple in his chest. Mercer's face did not change, but his voice sharpened. Bring the prisoner to the Resolute. Secure interview room. No delays. Captain. The screen went dark. Rel whispered, how would a VAR prisoner know about you? Sava asked the same question in his mind. Mercer turned to them. Come. With me, both of you. I want you to hear what he says. Sava hesitated. The Terran ship was a war fortress. It was not Kethri space anymore. Not in practice. Still, the attack had reached them, and the truth behind it mattered. I will come, Sava said. Rel's scales paled slightly. Keeper. Sava looked at him. You will come to. You saw this start. You should see what it leads to. Rel forced a nod. A Terran shuttle carried them across the short distance. Through the small window, Sava saw the Resolute up close. It was bigger than any ship he had ever seen. Its hull plates were thick, scarred, and layered. Its main cannon sat forward like a promise made solid. Inside, the ship smelled clean and sharp. The halls were wide. The lights were soft. Terrans moved with quiet speed. Sava noticed something strange. No one stared at them. No one treated them like pets or trophies. They were guests, treated with quick respect, like people who mattered. Mercer led them into an interview room with a table, 2 chairs on one side, 1 chair on the other. A clear barrier stood behind the single chair, like a wall of invisible force. Then the prisoner was brought in. The VAR looked smaller without his ship. His skin was dark and rough, his eyes bright with anger and fear. His wrists were bound. He sat and leaned forward as if trying to bite through the air. When he saw Mercer, his mouth curved in a cruel grin. So the lost human is now a captain. Mercer sat without showing emotion. Sava and Rel stood behind him. How do you know about that rescue? Mercer asked. The VAR's grin widened. Because someone paid for the story. Someone bought old records. Someone wanted to know what you owe and to whom. Sava felt his stomach drop. Mercer's voice stayed even. Who paid you? The VAR's eyes flicked toward Sava and Rel, then back to Mercer. Not a name you can shoot into silence. A group, a circle of rich minds. They call themselves the Lantern Court. Rel whispered, I'd have never heard of them. The VAR laughed softly. You would not. They sit behind markets and treaties. They hire hands like mine and keep their own hands clean. Mercer leaned forward slightly. Why test us here? The VAR's grin faded. His voice turned serious. Because this lane is a door. Because the Kethri have charts you do not. Because if your navy comes to guard them, you will move your ships into the wrong place at the wrong time. Sava's throat went tight. Our charts. Mercer did not look back, but Sava could feel his attention shift. The VAR continued. Slower now. There is a route hidden in the dead zone past your outer rocks, a quiet path. The Ketheri mapped it years ago, thinking it was useless, but it leads behind Terran border lines. The Lantern Court wants that path. Rel's voice shook. That dead zone, it was always strange. Signals been there. The Var nodded once. Yes, and something big can hide in it. Mercer's eyes hardened. A fleet. The Var did not answer with words. He only smiled again. But this time, there was fear under it. Sava felt cold inside. The attack was not finished. It had only opened the door. Mercer stood up. Keeper Sava, Rel, we need your maps, all of them, now. Sava looked at the holo map, in his mind the red points, the lane, the dead zone, the quiet path the Ketheri had once marked and forgotten. He understood one thing clearly. The next fight would not be a raid. It would be a war that had been planned for a long time. Sava did not like the way the Terran ship asked for Ketheri maps. The words were polite, but the need behind them was sharp. Still, he also understood the danger. If the Lantern Court truly wanted the dead zone route, then holding back information could cost lives. So he agreed. The Terran ship's data room felt colder than the interview space. Tall servers lined the walls like silent guards. A Terran specialist waited there. A woman with calm eyes and a tablet on her arm. Lieutenant Mara Vance. She said to Sava and Rel, I manage navigation security. We will copy your charts and return your originals. Sava washed her hands. She moved with care, as if the charts were living things. That comforted him a little. Rel placed the Ketheri slate on the table. These are not only lane maps, he said. Some are old drift studies. Some show signal bends. Vance nodded. Those are exactly what we need. Mercer stood beside them, hands behind his back. The Lantern Court believes this dead zone route gives them a blind approach, he said. If they can move ships behind our border sensors, they can strike where we don't expect. Sava asked, why would hidden traitors want war? Mercer's eyes stayed on the screens. Some people don't want war. They want control. War is only the tool. The specialist began to load the charts. Lines formed in the air, layers of space marked with Ketheri symbols and Terran grid overlays. The dead zone appeared as a wide shadow on the map, an area where sensor beams curved and scattered. Vance pointed. This region is a natural signal trap. If a fleet hides inside it, our long-range arrays will see noise, not shape. Rel frowned. So they can sit there and wait, Mercer said, or move through without being seen. Sava thought of the Var prisoner's words. A quiet path. Behind Terran lines, a door. His voice came out low. If they take that route, who do they strike first? Mercer didn't answer immediately. He tapped the holo map, and a list of targets appeared: trade hubs, refill stations, shipyards, and one name made Sava's stomach turn. Listening Tower 9. Rel leaned forward. Why us? Vance answered in a flat, honest tone. Because you are the key. If they take you, they take your charts and your local control beacons. They can mask movement in the lane and hide bigger ships behind small ones. Sava's mouth went dry. The tower had always been a quiet place, a listening post, a tool for safety. Now it was a lever someone wanted to pull. Mercer's voice tightened. They already tried the soft way. Raiders, panic, fear. If that failed, they will try a different method. Rel asked, what method? Mercer looked at him. A false rescue, a fake deal, or an internal strike. Sava felt a cold chill. You think they have an agent here? Mercer nodded slightly. Possibly, or they will send one. A new alert sounded. One of the Terran officers spoke quickly from the doorway. Captain, long-range ping from the dead zone. Weak, but repeating. It looked like a beacon. Mercer's face went still. On screen, the holo map shifted. A tiny point blinked inside the dead zone. It was not broadcasting a normal ship ID. It was sending a simple pulse pattern. Spaced like footsteps. Vance whispered, that pulse is not random. Sava studied it. The pattern was to clean, to steady. Someone wanted it found by the right ears, or it was a marker for someone else, telling them where to go. Mercer said, we're going to investigate. Sava stepped forward. Captain, that zone is unstable. Our old notes warn about sudden drift shifts. A ship can lose course. In minutes, Mercer nodded. I know. That's why we will not send the Resolute in first. He turned to Vance. Deploy a ghost probe. No emissions. No active scan. Let it drift in and watch. Vance's fingers moved fast. Yes, sir. Rel watched, tense and amazed. Terrans can send probes that hide. Mercer glanced at him. We learned the hard way that loud ships die first. Sava did not like that answer. It sounded like a truth paid for with blood. Minutes later, the probe's feed appeared. The image was grainy, full of shimmering noise. The dead zone bent light and signal alike, making space look like water. The probe drifted deeper. At first, it saw nothing but stones and faint gas. Then it passed a dark shape. Rel gasped. Is that wreckage? Sava leaned in. It was wreckage, yes, but not fresh. A large whole plate, cracked open. The metal was not Var, not Ketheri, not Terran either. Vance zoomed the image. Strange markings showed along the torn edge, like carved grooves. Mercer's jaw tightened. That's not a trader ship. Sava's voice was quiet. Then what is it? The probe drifted again. Another shape appeared, then another. Soon the feed showed a field of old wrecks, half hidden in the noise. Like a graveyard, Rel whispered. How did we never see this? Vance answered. Because the zone hides it. Mercer stared at the wrecks as if trying to read them. Someone has been using this place for a long time. The probe moved past the wreck field and caught a faint light ahead, a small object, shiny and smooth, hanging in the dark like a seed. The beacon, it was not Var-made. It was to clean, to perfect. Vance said, it has a layered shell. It's designed to survive for years. Mercer's voice went hard. A long-term marker. Sava felt a tight pressure in his chest. So the Lantern Court planned this long ago. Mercer didn't correct him. He only said, or someone else did, and the Lantern Court found it. Rel's eyes widened. Someone else? Mercer leaned closer to the feed. There's more. The probe sensor barely caught a shadow behind the beacon, something that did not match the drift of rocks. It was large, but it sat so still that it looked like part of the darkness. Vance's voice sharpened. Captain, that shape is too regular. Mercer whispered. A ship. The probe drifted a little more. The shape became clearer. A massive vessel, power cold, lights off, hidden inside the dead zone like an animal holding its breath. It was not Terran. Its whole design was wrong for Terran build. Too many sharp angles, too many thick spines. It looked made for war, not travel. Rel's voice shook. It's sleeping. Sava stared, unable to look away, or waiting. Mercer stood up slowly. His calm was still there, but now it was the calm of a storm held behind a wall. That's not a raid, he said. That's a spear. Vance swallowed. Captain, if there's one, there could be more. Mercer tapped the calm. All hands, alert status. No transmissions outside secure line. We have confirmed an unknown warship hidden in the dead zone. Sava's heart hammered. He had wanted safety for his people. Now his small station sat near a hidden blade. Rel whispered, what do we do? Mercer looked at Sava. We prepare, and we don't let them take your tower. Sava felt the weight of that sentence. The tower was no longer just a listening post. It was a line in a coming battle. Outside the data room, alarms began to shift from soft to sharp. Terran crew moved faster. Doors sealed with heavy clicks and far away. In the dead zone, the sleeping warship remained dark and silent like it was saving its voice for the right moment. The Resolute did not rush into the dead zone. Mercer knew that was what the enemy wanted. A big ship pulled into bad space, forced to fight blind. Instead, he treated the zone like a trap on the floor. He circled it, studied it, and sent smaller pieces first. Listening Tower 9 became the center of the plan. Terran engineers returned with crates and cables. They installed extra shield plates around the tower. Not pretty, but strong. They added signal filters that could cut through noise. They placed small defense turrets on the outer ring, each one linked to Terran targeting software and Ketheri warning systems. Sava watched it happen with mixed feelings. He was grateful, but also uneasy. The tower had never looked like a war place before. Now it looked like it was wearing armor. Rel stood beside him at the viewport. We are becoming a fort. Sava answered softly, because someone decided we are valuable. Rel looked down. We never asked to be. No, Sava said, but we can still decide how we stand. Mercer met them in the tower's main room. He carried a small projector under his arm, and behind him were Lieutenant Vance and a Terran Marine officer with a hard face and steady eyes. This is Major Han, Mercer said, boarding and station security. Major Han nodded to Sava and Rel. We'll keep your people safe, but I need to know your station layout, every crawlway, every access plate. Sava agreed. He showed them the quiet paths behind walls that only Kethri maintenance crews used. The Terrans marked every route, every door, every blind corner. Mercer set the projector on the table. A holo map rose, showing the dead zone and the sleeping warship around it. Small Terran probe icons floated like tiny fish in dark water. We got more data, Vance said. The warship is not alone. She tapped the map. 3 more faint shadows appeared, deeper in the zone. Rel's scales went pale. For ships. Mercer nodded. At least, and I don't think they're VAR. Sava asked, then who? Mercer answered carefully, we don't know yet, but the whole shape matches no known navy in this region. Major Hunt leaned in. Unknown ships mean unknown boarding tactics, unknown weapons, unknown numbers. Sava felt his throat tighten. So why hide here? Why sleep? Mercer pointed at the beacon. Because they are waiting for a signal. That beacon is the key, Vance added. It's sending a low power pulse. It looks simple, but it could be an unlock code or a timing mark, Rel said. Like a bell that tells them when to wake. Mercer nodded once. Exactly. Sava asked, can you destroy it? Mercer's eyes narrowed. We can try, but if it's a trigger, destroying it might wake them or it might call more ships. We need to understand it first. Major Hand's voice was blunt, and we have another problem. The Lantern Court. Sava remembered the VAR prisoner's words. Rich minds, hidden hands. Han continued. We interrogated 3 more prisoners. Same story. They were paid in supplies, weapons, and safe routes. The payment source was layered like a maze. Rel asked, so you cannot find the leaders? We can find their tools, Han said, and their next move. Mercer looked at Sava. They will come for your tower again. Not with raiders. This time, Sava's stomach clenched. Then with what? Mercer's voice stayed calm. A diplomat ship. A trade request. Something that makes you open your doors. Rel frowned. Why would we open for them? Mercer didn't answer. He let Sava answer that himself. Because the Kethri were kind. Because they listened. Because they helped. That was their nature, and it could be used against them. Sava said slowly. They will pretend to be peaceful. Mercer nodded. Yes, and if you refuse, they will call you cruel. If you accept, they will strike inside your walls. Major. Han placed a small device on the table. It looked like a flat coin. This will be installed at your main hatch. It scans for hidden tech and biosignatures. If anyone carries a weapon implant or a signal spike, it will alert us. Sava studied it. You think they will send an agent? Han replied, I think they already did. The words made the room feel colder. Rel blinked. Already? Vance tapped her tablet and turned it toward them. We found an unusual signal bounce from your station records. It happened 2 days before the raid. Sava frowned. 2 days. Vance nodded. A short ping from inside your tower to the dead zone. Low power. Hidden in routine maintenance chatter. Sava felt his mouth go dry. From inside the tower to the dead zone. Rel whispered. That means someone here marked us. Sava's mind raced through faces. Crew members, traders who passed through, repair teams, quiet visitors who asked simple questions. He hated the feeling. The tower had always been safe because everyone trusted each other. Trust made work easy. Trust made life soft. Now trust was a weakness someone could exploit. Mercer spoke gently, but the gentleness did not soften the message. We need to find who sent that ping. Sava nodded slowly. How? Major Han answered. By watching. Quietly. The plan was simple and dangerous. The Terrans would not accuse anyone without proof. They would set a trap and wait for the agent to move again. They placed a false data bundle in the station system and altered map files showing a new route through the dead zone, slightly different from the real one. It was labeled as if it were a forgotten backup. Only someone searching for the route would notice it. Sava hated lying, even for defense, but he understood. If someone tries to steal it, Sava said, you will know. Han nodded. Yes. Hours passed. The tower returned to a strange normal. Terran Marines stood at quiet points in the hall. Kethri crew moved carefully, eyes down, voices softer than usual. The rescue survivors from Turn 9 were treated in a temporary medical bay. Terran medics worked with gentle speed, and Kethri families gathered around their injured, grateful but shaken. Sava walked the halls and listened. He listened the way he always had, but now he listened for different things, hesitations, secret glances, footsteps at odd hours. Late in the cycle, Rel came to him, eyes wide. Keeper. Someone accessed the backup vault. Sava's heart kicked. Who? Rel swallowed. Technician Alon. Sava froze. Alon was not young, not reckless. He had served the tower longer than Rel. He had repaired sensors, cleaned filters, kept life support steady during storms. He was trusted. Sava said, "Are you sure?" Rel nodded. The system log shows his code, and the false map files. Open. Sava's hands went cold. He forced his voice to stay calm. "Tell Captain Mercer." Quietly. They moved like shadows to the comm room. Mercer and Major Han were already there, watching a live feed from a small camera near the data vault. On the screen, Alon stood alone by the vault panel. His hands shook as he worked. He was not wearing a tool belt. He was not there for repairs. He opened a small case and pulled out a thin device, black and smooth, not Kethri made. He pressed it to the vault port. Vance whispered, "Data siphon." Hands jaw tightened. "Got him." Mercer's voice was low. "Wait." Sava looked at him, shocked. "Why wait? He is stealing our charts." Mercer's eyes were hard. "Because I want to see who he sends them to." Alon's device blinked once. The false file transferred. Then Alon turned slightly, as if listening to something only he could hear. He lifted his wrist. A hidden transmitter was built into his skin. Rel whispered, "Implant." Alon spoke in a soft voice, almost like he was praying. Root confirmed. Tower defenses increased. Terran ship present. Sava felt sick. The words were betrayal made sound. Mercer signaled Han. Now, the door to the vault hall opened. Terran Marines stepped in. Weapons ready, but not firing. Alon turned, eyes wide, fear and shame mixing on his face. Han's voice was firm. "Technician Alon, step away from the console." Hands where I could see them. Alon's hands rose slowly. His throat moved as if he wanted to speak, but no sound came out. Sava stepped forward and faced him through the screen, voice shaking. "Why?" Alon's eyes filled with a wet shine. "I didn't want to," he whispered. "They have my clutch sister. They took her off world months ago. They said if I didn't help, I would never see her alive again." Sava's chest tightened. Anger fought with pity inside him. Mercer's voice came through the speaker, calm and cold at once. "Who are they?" Alon swallowed. "A traitor crew. They wore no flags, but their ship had a lantern symbol, hidden under the paint. The lantern cord." Han cuffed Alon gently, but firmly, and removed the wrist implant with a tool that made a sharp click. Vance looked up from her tablet, alarmed. "Captain," the implant sent a burst. Mercer's eyes narrowed. "To the dead zone?" Vance nodded. "Yes, a wake pattern." Sava's blood ran cold. "What does that mean?" Mercer didn't answer with comfort. He answered with truth. "It means they just rang the bell." On the main scan, deep inside the dead zone, one of the sleeping warships flickered just once with a faint light, like an eye opening in the dark. Alarms changed tone across Listening Tower 9. The soft warning chimes became sharp and fast. On the main scan, the dead zone was no longer a quiet shadow. A faint pulse spread outward, like ripples on dark water. Keeper Sava stood at the center board with Captain Mercer and Lieutenant Vance. Rel was at the signal console, hands moving quickly, eyes fixed on numbers that kept shifting. "The wake pattern is repeating," Vance said. "It's not a normal ping. It's structured, like an instruction." Sava's voice felt tight. "An instruction to the sleeping ships." Mercer watched the scan with a hard calm. "Yes, and they're answering." Inside the dead zone, one of the unknown warships lit up again, brighter than before. Lines of energy ran along its whole spines. Small lights formed a pattern, not random, almost like a code being spoken in light. Rel swallowed. "It's waking, like a machine." Vance nodded. "That's exactly what it looks like." Sava's mind went back to the wreck field the probe had found. Old dead ships, old silence. He had thought those were accidents. Now he wondered if they were proof of a system used many times. A Terran officer's voice came over the tower link. "Captain, Resolute is ready. Interceptors are armed. Boarding teams are standing by." Mercer answered, "Hold position. No one enters the dead zone until I say so." Sava looked at Mercer. "Why not strike first?" Mercer did not look away from the screen. "Because they want us to rush. Because we still don't know their weapon range, their sensor tricks, or how many ships are hidden behind that noise." Major Han entered the room with 2 Marines. His face was serious. "We secured Technician Alon. He's stable. He's cooperating." Sava's throat tightened. His clutch sister. Han nodded once. We're trying to trace her location through the implant's last handshake. It's faint. Mercer asked, do we have anything useful? Han placed a small device on the table. Olan remembered a ship name from the crew that threatened him. He overheard it. He says they called it Pale Lantern. Vance's eyes flicked up. That's not local registry. Mercer's voice sharpened. Run it through our databases. Vance moved fast, fingers tapping, searching. There's no official match, but there's a pattern. Pale Lantern has appeared in 3 black market reports. Always near missing persons. Always near sudden root thefts. Sava felt sick. They take people to control. Others, Mercer nodded. Yes, quiet pressure. It's how rich criminals stay clean. On the main scan, the waking warship moved, not forward at first. It rotated, slowly, like a predator turning its head. Then a second warship flickered. Awake deeper in the dead zone. Then a third. Rel's voice shook. 3 awake now. A new signal came through so low power that the tower almost missed it. Rel caught it by accident. Because he had learned to notice small differences, he leaned forward. Keeper. Captain. There's a carrier wave under the beacon pulse. Vance looked sharply at his console. Show me. Rel displayed it as a thin line, hidden under noise. It's not just waking them. It's also guiding them. Mercer's eyes narrowed. Guiding them where? Rel traced the waveform's direction with a software tool. The line pointed, not at Terran territory first, but at one place, Listening Tower 9. Sava felt his blood go cold. They are coming here. Major Hand's jaw tightened. Then we hold. Mercer spoke to the ship link. Resolute. This is Mercer. Moved station defense posture. Set a wide shield umbrella over Tower 9. Interceptors take outer ring. No one fires unless I give the word. The Terran reply came instantly. Copy. Defense posture. Outside the tower windows, the Resolute shifted. It moved with slow strength, placing itself between the dead zone and the Kethri station. Its shields expanded like a clear dome. Faint blue at the edges. Sava did not realize he had been holding his breath until his lungs burned. Rel whispered, it's like a sky over us. Sava replied, a borrowed sky. The first unknown warship emerged from the dead zone. It did not jump like a Terran ship. It slid out of the noise as if it had always been there, and the universe finally admitted it. Its hull was sharp, spined, and dark. No flags, no friendly lights, just hard lines and cold intent. Then it sent a message, not in trade speech, not in any known language. A burst of structured tones that struck the tower systems like a hammer. Rel flinched. Signal shock. Some tower screens flickered. One panel went black. The station's outer cameras froze for a second. Vance snapped. Filter it. It's an electronic attack. Sava's hands moved instinctively. He rerouted power and shifted the listening array into a narrower band. Kethri systems were older, simpler. Sometimes that made them harder to hack. The tower stabilized. Rel exhaled, shaky. It tried to blind us. Mercer's voice was low. Then they're smart. The unknown ship fired next, but not at the tower. A thin wave spread outward, like invisible pressure. It struck the lane itself. For a moment, space felt thick, as if the air in the room had turned heavy. Rel's eyes widened. It's a field. Vance read her instruments. It's suppressing. Comms. Long-range transmission is dropping. Mercer stared at the scan. They're trying to isolate us. Sava's mind raced. Isolation meant they could attack without outside help. It meant they could shape the story later. The unknown warship advanced. 2 more followed it out of the dead zone, forming a loose spear shape. The Resolute's interceptors launched small darts of steel and light. They moved fast to flank the incoming ships. The unknown ships did not panic. They released smaller object-smooth black drones that spread like seeds. The drones moved toward the interceptors. One drone touched an interceptor shield, and the interceptor's lights dimmed at once. Rel's voice broke. It shut it down. Mercer's tone stayed controlled. They have a silence method too. Sava felt his stomach twist. Terran's silence weapons were terrifying, but at least Mercer had used them to stop raiders with minimal loss. These unknown ships used the same idea, without any warning, without any words. The first interceptor spun helplessly. A second went dark. A third managed to pull back, engines flaring. Mercer spoke into the link. All interceptors, fall back to the Resolute shield line. Do not engage drones up close. A Terran officer replied. Tense, copy. Sava watched the unknown ship's close distance. They were not fast, but they were steady. They acted like they expected to win by pressure, not speed. Mercer's eyes went to the resolute cannon feed. Charge the main gun. Vance hesitated. Captain, if we fire a full silent shot, we might knock out tower systems too. Mercer answered that we adjust output. I'm not turning this station into a dark rock. Sava realized something important in that moment. Mercer was not only protecting a lane, he was protecting the people inside it. He was fighting like the Kethri thought a protector should fight. The Resolute's cannon began to glow. The unknown lead warship responded at once, as if it recognized the threat. It turned slightly and raised its own forward array. A line of energy formed, not bright like a laser, but dim and strange, like a shadow made solid. The two weapons faced each other across open space. Rel whispered, "They are matching you." Mercer's jaw tightened. "Let them try." The Terran gun fired controlled, narrower than before. The shot struck the unknown ship's forward array. For a breath, the unknown ship's lights went out. Sava felt relief surge. Then the lights returned. Not fully, but enough for it to keep moving. Vance's eyes widened. It resisted. Mercer's calm finally cracked into a sharper edge. "It has hardened systems." Major Hunt spoke quickly. "Captain, if their hull is built for system shock resistance, boarding might be the only way to stop them completely." Mercer stared at the unknown ships. "Boarding in the comp-suppressed field is a risk." Sava heard himself speak before he could stop it. "That you need a guide." Everyone looked at him. Sava swallowed. "The dead zone bends signals. Our old charts show stable microcurrents, small safe paths. If you want to move teams without being seen by their drones, you need those paths." Rel nodded fast. "We can mark them live. We can use the tower array like a lighthouse, but quiet." Vance leaned in. "You can do that." Sava answered, "The Kethri map not only space. We map how space behaves." Mercer looked at Sava for a long second. Then he nodded once. "Do it." Sava and Rel went to the signal console together. They narrowed the tower output to a tight beam, almost like a whisper aimed in one direction. They used old Kethri drift math, turning it into simple markers the Terrans could read. Vance relayed the markers to the Resolute through shielded. Short-range burst, a method less affected by the suppression field. On the scan, a small Terran craft detached from the Resolute, not an interceptor, a boarding shuttle dark. Low emission, moving carefully. Major Hand's voice came over the calm. "Boarding team 1 is away." Sava's hands shook, but he kept the beam steady. He felt like he was holding a thin thread in a storm. The unknown ships got closer. One of their drones slipped through the outer shield line and rushed toward the tower. Rel gasped. One got past. Sava reached for the defense controls, but Mercer was already moving. He keyed the tower's new Terran link turret system. A small turret fired a tight pulse. The drone did not explode. It simply lost power and drifted away. The tower remained alive. Mercer exhaled once, then spoke into the link again. "Shuttle, you're in the corridor. Use it. Stay dark." Han replied from the shuttle, calm and focused. "Copy. We see the path. We're moving." Sava watched the boarding shuttle's marker inch toward the lead unknown ship. If they could board, they might find the control core. They might cut the beacon link. They might end the comm suppression, and maybe, Sava thought, they might find proof of the lantern cord's hand. Vance's tablet chimed. She stared, then looked up quickly. "Captain, new trace. We found the pale lantern." Mercer turned. "Where?" Vance pointed at a new marker on the map. It was not in the dead zone. It was farther out, hiding behind a cluster of rocks, using the battle noise as cover. "It's been watching," Vance said, "and it has a small prisoner hold signature. Life signs." Sava's chest tightened. Alon's clutched sister. Mercer's eyes went cold. "They're here to collect the route and leave with hostages." Major Hand's voice came through, urgent but steady. "Captain, we are at the enemy hull, preparing breach." Mercer looked between the two threats, the unknown warships pushing toward the tower, and the pale lantern lurking like a thief in the dark. He spoke into the calm with a decision that sounded like iron. "Han, you cut the head off that spear. Vance, lock the pale lantern on my mark. Sava, keep that corridor steady." Sava swallowed. "Yes, Captain." Outside, the unknown lead ship reached the edge of the Resolute shield. Its drone swarmed again, pressing harder, and in the distance, the pale lantern began to move slowly, at first turning away, as if it sensed it was about to be caught. The lead unknown warship pressed against the Resolute shield like a heavy hand. Its drones kept coming in waves, touching the shield surface and trying to drain power each time. The shield dipped slightly, then held, inside Listening Tower 9. Sava kept the tight guidance beam steady. His fingers ached. Every small correction felt like steering a boat through a storm without seeing the water. Rel stood beside him, watching the boarding shuttle marker. "They are almost there," he whispered. On the main screen, Major Hand's voice came through, low and controlled. "We're attached. Beginning breach." A faint tremor ran through the signal feed, then stabilized. The shuttle's marker overlapped the enemy hull. Sava didn't breathe until Han spoke again. "We're inside. Outside." The pale lantern began to slip away from the rocks. It moved like it had been waiting for this moment, using the chaos as cover. It didn't rush. It didn't need to. It only needed to disappear into the lanes. Lieutenant Vance tracked it with narrow scans, careful not to lose it in the comp's press field. "It's running dark," she said, "but we've got its mass. We've got heat leaks. It's trying to mask life signs." Mercer stood in the tower command space, eyes fixed on the screens. He looked calm, but his jaw was tight. "If it jumps, we might lose it," Sava said quietly. "Then stop it before it jumps." Mercer nodded and keyed his ship link. "Resolute. Target pale lantern engines. Low output silent strike. I want it drifting, not destroyed." The Terran reply came. "Charging auxiliary emitter." A small Terran craft moved out from the Resolute side, not fast, but positioned with purpose. It lined up on the pale lantern's rear section. The pale lantern suddenly changed course. As if it realized it had been found, it tried to dive behind a bigger rock cluster. Aiming for a blind spot, Vance spoke quickly. "It's trying to break line of sight." Mercer answered, "It won't." The Terran craft fired a thin, precise pulse. It crossed space without drama and touched the pale lantern's engine housing. The pale lantern did not explode. Its lights did not flare. It simply lost thrust. It began to drift, slow and helpless. Rel released a breath. Silence. Sava felt a hard knot in his chest loosen a little, but the bigger threat still pushed toward them. The unknown warships did not care about the pale lantern. They kept coming. On the screen, Han spoke again, this time with a hint of strain. "Captain, their interior is strange. No crew, no corridors like we know. It's mostly sealed sections and machine pathways." Vance's eyes widened. "Automated warship." Han replied, "Yes, but there is a control core. We found it. It's shielded." Mercer's voice stayed steady. "Can you cut the comm suppression?" Han paused, then answered, "We're trying." "Their core isn't just running the ship. It's relaying the beacon signal." Sava's mind flashed back to the beacon in the dead zone, hanging like a seed. "If you stop the relay," Han finished, "the Spirit loses its eyes outside." One of the unknown ships fired another field wave. The tower lights dimmed for a second. A panel went black and came back. Rel's hands shook. "They're squeezing us." Sava forced his voice to stay even. "Keep systems simple. Simple. Systems don't bend as easily." Rel nodded and shifted several tower controls to manual modes, the old ways. The screens became less pretty, but more stable. Mercer watched the shield numbers drop and rise. "Han, we don't have long." Han's voice hardened. "We're at the core. We're placing a cut device now." Sava tightened his grip on the console. He imagined Han and his team inside the dark machine ship, feeling their way through alien design. He did not know Terran courage well, but he knew this was it. Then a new sound came through the channel, a sharp crack, followed by silence on the suppression readouts. Vance looked down at her tablet, shocked. "The field is collapsing." Outside, the comm suppress wave faded. Long-range transmission returned in a rush. The tower scans cleared slightly, as if a fog lifted. Rel whispered, "We can see again." Han's voice returned, "Clear now." Core severed. Beacon relay down. The unknown warships reacted at once. Their formation broke. Their drones drifted in confusion. Some going dark, some spinning with no direction. Mercer did not waste the opening. Resolute. Disable the lead ship now. The Terran cannon charged controlled, focused. It fired, and the shot struck the lead warship's midsection. The ship's lights went out in a clean line. Its drone cloud fell silent like a curtain dropping. The second unknown ship tried to turn back toward the dead zone. The third hesitated, then followed. But without their guidance, their movement looked wrong, like they were swimming against a current they couldn't read. Terran interceptors surged forward again, staying at safe distance this time. They fired precise pulses at engines and control arrays. One by one, the unknown ships became quiet. No fire, no screaming wrecks, just drifting war machines, silenced and helpless. Sava felt his knees weaken. He sat down slowly, not from fear now, but from the sudden release of pressure. The battle had been a storm pressing on his skull, and now the air felt wide again. Rel looked at him, eyes bright. We lived. Sava's voice was rough. Yes. Mercer turned to Vance, now the pale lantern. Terran Marines boarded it quickly. This time, there were corridors, doors, and frightened voices on internal audio. The ship's crew tried to resist, but without engines and comms, they were trapped. A few minutes later, Major Hand's voice came back, steadier now. Captain, pale lantern secured, prisoners taken. Sava stood up again, heart beating hard. The hostage, Han answered. We found a small holding room, multiple captives. One matches Kethri biosignature. Female, alive. Sava closed his eyes for 1 second. Relief hit him like warm water. He turned toward the tower screens as Terran medics guided survivors out of the pale lantern. Among them was a Kethri female with tired eyes and thin arms. When she saw the Kethri station, lights through a viewing port, her body trembled. She made a small sound, half sob, half breath. Rel whispered, Alon's clutch sister. Mercer's voice stayed firm. We will return all captives to safe custody, and we will log every prisoner statement. Vance stepped closer, holding her tablet. Captain, we pulled data from Pale Lantern's memory core. Payment logs, route requests, contact chains. Mercer asked. Names? Vance nodded slowly. Not full names. They used layers. But there are identifiers, account shells, meeting points, and a symbol that repeats. She turned the tablet toward Sava. A simple lantern mark appeared, drawn the same way again and again. Sava's throat tightened. The lantern court. Mercer's eyes hardened. Now we can hunt them legally, not just in the dark. Sava looked out at the lane. Silent raider wrecks, silent unknown warships. The Resolute holding steady like a wall. He remembered the younger human, ash-covered, shaking, saved by strangers who chose kindness. That kindness had come back with steel and discipline, not to demand, but to protect. He spoke softly, mostly to himself. All this, because we helped one life. Mercer heard him anyway. He looked at Sava, and his voice was quieter than before. Because you showed us what we should be, later, after the wounded were treated and the captives were fed. Mercer stood once more in Listening Tower 9. The tower was battered, but intact. The lane was calm again, but not the old kind of calm. This calm had teeth behind it. Mercer addressed Sava and Rel. The Lantern Corps wanted to prove something. They wanted to prove that kindness is weakness, that debts are chains, that friends don't come when the distance is long. He paused. They were wrong. Sava looked at the silent battlefield beyond the glass and understood the Terran lesson in full. A promise could cross years. A small rescue could change. A war. And when Terran guns fired in defense of those they remembered, the enemy did not get glory. Only silence followed.